The D is fire, and that is a direct quote from Gypsy Rose. She was literally just released from prison after being sentenced for 10 years for participating in her own mother's tragic passing, and has since become a social media star overnight. I'm sure after years behind bars, she definitely has plans, cameraman. I mean, who asks that to someone right after being released from prison? But at least they confirmed, yes, she has plans. She has over 6 million followers within a week of her being released, and with fame comes criticism, but mostly towards her husband. While she was serving her sentence, she married Ryan Scott Anderson, and following her release, she has obviously faced critics as not everyone finds remorse in the situation. But she wasn't concerned about her haters. Nope, not at all, but she defended her man in his Instagram comments and even made a shocking revelation about his But what led to Gypsy to even spend so long in jail? And why are people celebrating her release, especially because of what she was serving time for? Let's start from 1991, the year she was born, because she was born into anything but a normal life. Look how precious she was. She looked so healthy and there's no signs of anything wrong. But no one, not even Gypsy's father, family, or herself knew what Gypsy's mother was hiding. Her parents, Rod and Claudine, who went by Dee Dee, met and got married after the couple found out Dee Dee was pregnant. But they did separate shortly before Gypsy was even born, as her father Rod told BuzzFeed News that their marriage quickly deteriorated by the time he was 18, when he realized he wasn't where he was supposed to be and he wasn't in love with her and knew he got married for the wrong reasons. And when Gypsy was just 3 months old, Dee Dee believed she had sleep apnea and began taking her to the hospital. But after the doctors ran several tests, they found nothing wrong with Gypsy. But Dee Dee became convinced that Gypsy was ill and even told Rod that she believed their daughter had chromosomal defect and her health issues stemmed from that. Plus, if any doctors denied what Dee Dee had to say, she would switch doctors. And as more and more time went on, Dee Dee continued to falsely claim Gypsy these health conditions, and it got more and more severe. And with all the illnesses Dee Dee claimed her daughter had, she actually would put her daughter through unnecessary medical treatment, which we will get into in a bit. But first, how did Dee Dee even convince doctors to treat her daughter for all these conditions that were simply not true? Well, in August of 2005, Hurricane Katrina hit, and their house was destroyed. They later had to relocate to a rescue shelter where Dee Dee claimed all of Gypsy's medical records, including her birth certificate, were destroyed in the hurricane. And because this was indeed true for many people who were impacted by the devastating hurricane, this was unfortunately the perfect opportunity for Dee Dee to continue to paint a false and fake path for her daughter, especially when it came to her health and age. In fact, she convinced doctors she had leukemia, muscular dystrophy, epilepsy, respiratory illnesses like severe asthma, vision and hearing impaired, and even Down syndrome. Do you think people can get away with these lies in recent years? And when Gypsy recounted these hospital visits, she stated she would always have a stuffed animal or a Barbie doll, and Dee Dee would tell her to play with the toy, and when doctors came to examine her, she instructed her daughter to stay in her wheelchair, be calm, and play with her doll, as well as not to move her leg. And with the help of Habitat with Humanity, they moved into a new home, especially once Gypsy's story gained attention. Excuse me? A happy ending? Your daughter, who is perfectly healthy, has gone through painful surgeries and complies to you because she thinks her whole life depends on you. Gypsy underwent multiple surgeries and procedures which she didn't need, and this included gastrointestinal operations, and once Dee Dee claimed she has leukemia, feeding tubes were used even though she could eat on her own. When Gypsy spoke to Dr. Phil, she said she had over 30 procedures which included multiple eye, leg, throat surgeries, and even discussed how she was kept in a wheelchair after she scraped her knee during a motorcycle accident with her grandpa. Oh my god, I can't believe being in a wheelchair forever simply because my mother wanted me to be in one. Plus all those lies and manipulations, of course she would assume her mother's knows best. And recently, in an exclusive interview with People, she recalled one of the most painful and unnecessary surgeries she received, and that still interferes with her life today. That was a removal of her 2 salivary glands, which are located behind her neck. She remembers how she didn't respond well to the anesthesia, which made the recovery process really difficult. The reason why she had to get this removed in the first place was because her mother made claims that she had excessive drooling. Her mom would put a gel in her mouth, which caused drooling, and this would cause Gypsy to drool at her appointment. And Dee Dee would complain to doctors that her daughter drooled too much. And to this day, Gypsy has to clear her throat all the time, and apparently it annoys other people because she does it so much. She was also put on medication, forced to remove her teeth due to rotting, and Dee Dee even shaved Gypsy's head, which left her bald, and she would tell Gypsy, "It's gonna fall out anyways, so let's keep it nice and neat." and this was all when Gypsy was still a child. Gypsy believed everything her mom was telling her, and because she was manipulated since day one, she stated in a 2017 documentary that she was just as much in the dark as everyone else. In fact, Gypsy didn't really have a support system other than her mother. She was never enrolled in school, kept from having a relationship with her own father Rod, stepmother Christy, and other half-siblings, and she was limited to what she could watch and expose herself to, as well as other kids, and the only thing she knew from the outside world was Disney movies. And she said those don't talk about warning signs of bad parents. And every time Gypsy had suspicion and told her mom she didn't feel like she needed something, Dee Dee would be extremely upset at her and manipulate her. She even bribed her with toys in order for Gypsy to comply and visit the hospital. And once Gypsy became a teenager, things got even worse between her and her mother. In fact, things turned physical. Her mom would call her names and even hit, punch, and slap her in order for Dee Dee to get her way. Gypsy tried running away after she had another procedure scheduled, so she fled her home. But within hours was tracked back down and brought back home, where her mother gave her paperwork, which said she was competent and how Dee Dee had power of attorney over her. And this was when there was no return. Gypsy met Nick, whose full name is Nicholas Gojan, on an online dating site, and as their conversations went on, he told her he would do anything to protect her. When she responded with anything, Nick said yes. And in June of 2015, the sheriff deputies found Dee Dee's body face down in the bedroom of her own home. And after neighbors found Gypsy's questionable Facebook post from that same day, they notified the police. Her wheelchair and medication were still in the home, which sparked concern of Gypsy's well-being. The next day, Gypsy was found in Wisconsin, where her and Nicholas traveled to and were taken into questioning. Yeah, that was Nick's interrogation. He talks about guilt and the blockage, yet presents himself very calmly. But what made the public change their heart was when the police announced to the public that Gypsy was indeed an adult and did not have any physical or mental challenges her mother claimed she had. And that's when people began to feel sympathy for this girl. I mean, she was put through surgical procedures, restricted to a wheelchair, took medication, and everything to treat her medical conditions that she didn't even have. But because she and her boyfriend at the time plotted the end of her mom's life, Gypsy was sentenced to 10 years and Nick was sentenced to life in prison without parole. But Gypsy was released 3 years before her initial release date. Although Gypsy has shared her remorse and even self-reflected, she has admitted her mom didn't deserve that. But Nick's attorney, on the other hand, argued that he was manipulated by Gypsy and should have his charges reduced, but just days later he was found guilty to the first degree, and his reasonings to participate in Dee Dee's tragedy were definitely questionable. And a year before her release, she married Brian Scott Anderson, who was a special education teacher from Louisiana. If she was behind bars, how did they meet? After Ryan watched the HBO documentary about Gypsy's case, he wrote a letter to her in 2020, and their relationship grew, which led them to getting married while Gypsy was still behind bars. Well, fast forward to her release date, December 28th of 2023 at 3:30 a.m., Gypsy was spotted leaving prison alongside Ryan and began sharing her journey of freedom all over her social media. And for obvious reasons, people were critical of Gypsy's release, but it seemed like most of the negative attention went towards her husband Ryan, as many shared clips of Ryan next to Dee Dee saying they look identical, with others saying how he just looks creepy and they have a bad feeling about him even though he really hasn't shown his personality to the audience, so it may just be most people judging him off his looks. So Gypsy, being the good wife she is, decided to leave a comment under her husband's Instagram post. She wrote, "Ryan, don't listen to the haters. I love you and you love me. We do not owe anyone anything. Our family is who matters. If you get likes and good comments, great. If you get hate, then whatever, because they don't matter. I love you. Besides, they're jealous because you are rocking my world every night." Yeah, I said it. The D is fire. Happy wife, happy life. Okay, Gypsy, go off. If it's as fire as you say it is, good for you, girl. That wasn't the only thing that rocked her world, because her family, who stood by her side all these years, welcomed her home with a party with all her loved ones, including her father, stepmom, stepsister, and of course the D himself. Yep, I'm referring to her husband. But they welcomed her with open arms and decorated the home with gold balloons spelling welcome home, confetti, cake, snacks, and a bottle of bubbly. Since her release, she has been photographed shopping for new shoes, living out of a hotel, and of course going through the McDonald's drive-thru. So clearly Gypsy is having a much better time now that she's free, obviously. And now there are rumors she's gonna be collaborating with Kim Kardashian for Skims, and a ton of other celebrities are celebrating her release under her Instagram. And Gypsy has even made it known that she is a huge Swiftie, and fans love to see it. What are your thoughts on Gypsy Rose and her story? I think it's definitely shocking, and this brings a lot of attention to those who could be in the same situation as Gypsy was in, and hopefully are able to find their way out of it without having to follow Gypsy's footsteps. Leave all your thoughts and comments down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Bye bye.